Well, Twitter may just have picked a fight with the wrong person. You probably saw the story recently. You had Donald Trump, who is world famous for his tweets and many, many followers at Real Donald Trump. And he tweets just kind of relentlessly, endlessly. Well, he put a tweet out that was related to the effort the Democrats are engaged in. We'll be talking a lot more about today and tomorrow, the Democrats' effort to push for all mail-in ballots in the 2020 elections, which is another way of saying it's a Democrat vote fraud enablement. This is what they are doing. It's nothing less. So Donald Trump tweeted out basically saying, hey, I think this is a bad idea. I'll let you see his exact tweet. I have Matt the Wonderful. I sent him a series of tweets. This is the first one President Trump put out. There is no way, zero, that mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent. Mailboxes will be robbed, ballots will be forged, and even illegally printed out and fraudulently signed. The governor of California is sending ballots to millions of people. And before we go to the next tweet, I want to show you. See the blue along the bottom? Get the facts about mail-in ballots. This is Twitter correcting, so to speak, the President of the United States. And to be really clear, they're not correcting, they are spreading Democrat talking points. They are trying to say that mail-in ballots are not a fraud problem. And if you listen to the show at all, you know mail-in ballots are a playground for fraud for the American left. Second tweet, President Trump went on to say, he's speaking of California, living in the state, no matter who they are or how they got here, we'll get one. That will be followed up with professionals telling all of these people, many of whom have never even thought of voting before, and for whom to vote. This will be a rigged election, no way. Again, the blue along the bottom, get the facts about mail-in ballots. I have to tell you, folks, Donald Trump is not taking this sitting down because Twitter already, as you likely know, suspends the accounts. We'll be talking about other people in a moment. Suspends the accounts of conservatives if they say things that allegedly don't comply with Twitter's views or don't comply with their community standards. Facebook does the same thing. So Donald Trump's already been out saying, big action to follow, after Twitter puts fact check label on his tweets. And I want to really make something clear. If Trump had said, I think that, some absurd thing like Martians stole the 2012 election or something crazy, of course Twitter would say something. But Twitter and all social media simply forever and a day shut down conservatives, not just shut down people who are trying to be active in social media and put out messages, but actually try to steer what the American people believe by calling true things untrue, by calling untrue things true, by censoring people trying to speak on social media. So Trump said, number one, big action to follow, not putting up with this. And I just want to mention one little headline. The New York Times and many other sources, but New York Times is about the worst, put out some comment about, this was a New York Times headline, Twitter refutes inaccuracies in Trump's tweets about mail-in voting. In case you didn't know, and if you haven't listened to this show, we've had experts on this show, we've had stories on this show, talking about all the ways in which Democrats cheat using mail-in ballots. It's one entire avenue, ballot harvesting, literally in California, sending out droves and droves of union employees and union officials and other left-wingers to pick up ballots in people's homes. All sorts of stories about people discovering they were told they had voted when they didn't know they'd voted. You also had the very recent arrest in West Virginia of a United States Postal Service mail carrier charged with fraud after allegedly tampering with vote-by-mail requests. What is really the point of this first five, the minor point is that mail-in ballots are part of the Democrats' overall agenda in 2020 to steal this election. They can hardly believe all their other efforts to destroy President Trump have so far appeared to fail. All their other efforts, including the initial Trump-Russia collusion fraud, which turned out to be a big fat zero. Then their attempt to impeach the president based on stuff that Joe Biden actually did, but they falsely accused Trump of doing. That fell apart. Every effort they've made against this man to destroy him has failed. We're in the middle right now of the next wave, which is the Democrat effort to use America's response to coronavirus to destroy the economy, to attack Trump. But that, I even have news about that coming up. But what I want to say in this first 5 is this. Twitter, Facebook, all sorts of other social media work very, very hard to mold and shape the opinion of the American people. Twitter was not factually checking Donald Trump. Twitter was trying to prevent Trump from convincing or informing more Americans how regularly mail-in ballots are subject to fraud. We had a show in this episode in this show maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hans von Spakovsky, fabulous expert from Heritage Foundation, laying out data point, data point, data point, data point. Mail-in ballots lost and never returned, massive numbers lost, all sorts of ways and methods that the left and frankly the right could do it too. Conservatives could do it too. But given the determination of the American left to push for mail-in ballots in this election cycle, the purpose is to cheat to win the election. And that's what Donald Trump is really getting at. He's not going to let the Democrats do this. But back to Twitter and Facebook. One other quick story I mentioned, I think I alluded to it a couple days ago, but Candace Owens is really in a battle with Twitter and with Facebook. I want to remind you what her tweet was. Her tweet on Facebook, she tweeted out something related to the Michigan Governor Whitmer. And I can't remember if I sent Matt the Wonderful this tweet or not. I meant to send Candace Owens' tweet about Governor Whitmer. So I want to put that up. So this is Candace Owens, who used to be allowed to speak on Twitter. She had written on Twitter, apparently Governor Whitmer believes she is a duly elected dictator of a socialist country. The people of Michigan need to stand up to her. Open your businesses. Go to work. The police think she's crazy too. They are not going to arrest 10 million people for going to work. For that tweet, Twitter removed Candace Owens from Facebook. And they talk about removing her because she violated community standards. In fact, there was a very smarmy, slimy, condescending statement Twitter put out that they had to, that her, Candace Owens' tweet, violated the platform's COVID-19 misinformation policy, specifically around heightened risk health claims. And that she goes on to say, this is a spokesman for Twitter, Owens' tweet encouraging people to ignore the shutdown order of Governor Whitmer in Michigan and saying, just go back to work, go about your business, they can't arrest the whole state. This is what Twitter had to say in response to Candace Owens. Owens' tweet involved denial of government body recommendations to increase an individual's likelihood of exposure to COVID-19 with the intent to influence users into acting contrary to recommended guidance. So Owens on a timeout with Twitter, and then she's in trouble with Facebook, Candace Owens, because on Facebook, she made the statement that the CDC is encouraging doctors and others to falsely identify COVID-19 as a cause of death on death certificates where the people or someone who passed on may have had COVID-19, but the cause of death was not COVID-19. They may have been exposed to it, but they had some other long-standing condition that actually led to their death. And there have been doctors who've been saying this. There have been public health officials acknowledging CDC is intentionally padding the COVID-19 death numbers. Doctors say it, numerous across the country, public health officials. Candace Owens puts it up on Facebook. She's locked out of Facebook. And there, in that particular case, they shut her down with a message to her that said her statement did not comply with community standards, making false statements about the COVID-19 death rate. So she, because she is tenacious, I'll get out, she sends an email into Facebook. She lays out, this doctor said it. This doctor said it. This public health official in, I forget where it was, Ohio or Illinois or somewhere said it. And the answer from Facebook was, well, we don't really make these decisions. We have a group, a extra group, not someone right here at Facebook, but another organization that fact checks, and they said that you are wrong. The CDC is not padding the numbers. So she said, well, give me their information. So Candace Owens sends them an email and lays out what I just told you. The facts are people involved are saying the CDC is exaggerating the COVID-19 death rate. And she cited doctors and elected public health officials, gets a response from them saying, our doctor said you're wrong. That's it. we have a doctor, she said you're wrong, and that's it. So this is social media strangling vital information to get out to the American people in an election year when you have one of the key arguments of the election and issues facing America is, did we really deal with the coronavirus well? Did we exaggerate? Was the shutdown necessary? Was the shutdown, did it last too long? We have all sorts of people who are trying to get facts out to point out that not the virus as a hoax, but America's response to it, our extended response, our extended shutdown, our extended shelter-in-place orders, all the almost police state tactics being used by leftist governments are part of an effort to suppress the economy. And this is something that the social media giants do not want you to understand. Two other little tiny examples. I sent Matt the Wonderful. This is another example on Facebook of the way and the degree to which they are shutting down people who dare to disagree with their ministry of truth about COVID-19 facts. So this is a friend of mine, Barry. Can't see his last name, so it's okay. Barry, you liked a post with false information about COVID-19. That post was removed because it had harmful false information. The World Health Organization has a webpage with common rumors you can share with friends so everyone can stay safe. So they're trying to encourage this guy who shared information, probably true, about COVID-19. Why don't you share, the Ministry of Truth approved propaganda about COVID-19? Last one, I don't have the picture of it, but just today someone was showing me they had actually tried to share a really funny post by Babylon Bee, the spoof website, and Facebook even interfered with that. Are you sure you want to? This is not a reliable source of news. It's a spoof website. I really want to get at, and closing out this more than 5-minute long first five to say this. We are in a battle in this country, not just in this election year. It will go on long after the election and regardless of who wins the election. But we are in a battle in this country between people who still believe in America as founded, believe in the freedom of speech, believe in the right of the people to understand things, to speak, to engage in conversation, to engage in the exchange of ideas, to weigh in on public policy, to try to influence their elected officials. There's that side, the Patriot America side, and the other side of the battle is the radical left. And I need to even stop calling them radical. It's simply today's American Marxist left. They believe they can tell you what to think. They can shut you down if you try to share facts that they have not approved, and they think there's nothing you can do about it. But harking back to how I started the first five today, President Trump is saying we just may not put up with Twitter now falsely fact-checking the President of the United States, who's trying to say mail-in ballots are a source for rampant fraud, which everyone who ever studies the issue knows to be the case. But somehow they on Twitter think they can stop the President of the United States from sharing that information with the American people. I think Donald Trump has a plan in mind. He talked about maybe shutting him down for a month. I don't know if he can do that or if he will do that. But the idea is time to fight back against these censors who are trying to tell people in this country you don't really have a First Amendment right to speak unless everything you say agrees with left-wing orthodoxy. We're in a battle, and it's a fabulous time to be in the battle, to be a conservative, to be someone speaking up for truth, speaking up for the ideas that formed America, because those are the very ideas under assault in this 2020 election. And that, my friends, is my much longer than 5 minutes first five.